Paramanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasyadilakhyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhut Bhavatitam Trigunarehitam Satgurum Tam. I like the way some people are sitting. Perfect siddhasana. So, here begins the retreat. Here we go. First things first. We start with the question, what are we looking for? Why are we here in this retreat? There must be something, right? Which all of us want, or at least desire, for which we attend retreats. Basically, what's it that even those who have come here and those who have not come here, what do human beings seek? What's it that we seek? Jobs? Wives? Children? Property? What do we seek really? Yeah, we seek all this. But there must be a basic reason why we seek all this. Is it for pain or is it for happiness? Some practice yoga, some don't practice yoga. Some trying to find gurus, some are not. Some want to become gurus. What is it that we all seek? In fact, in India now, there are more gurus than disciples, unfortunately. So, what do we seek? What are we looking for? In all this process of going through everything, I mean, it's a simple question. Maybe somebody should say. Happiness. I won't say joy, but that's a little more better word, but happiness, yes, that's better. Joy is a little on the other side, extreme. But happiness, yes, because it's precisely because we find something and then find that we still aren't happy, that we find something else. So the whole process of life is a movement towards that happiness. Look at it carefully. There's nothing else to it. Nobody seeks sorrow. Yeah. Even those who seek sorrow think that through sorrow you can enjoy. I always find there are some retired, in India I have seen a retired army man sitting down in the evening with a large peg of scotch. We call in India, it's called a Patiala peg. And listening to a classic old singer called K.L. Saigal. And the song they're enjoying is Jab Dil Hi Toot Gaya. That means, now when my heart is broken, what am I to do? So, what's it that they're enjoying in that pain? Even pain. So even pain, sometimes people go through to enjoy, to be happy. Memories come and they think of their old flames and finish the scotch, and by the time the scotch is over, you remember nothing. So that's also a movement towards nothingness, perhaps. Why do people drink? Because it paralyzes the central nervous system, so there is no thinking going on, you see, for some time. So you think you're happy. Next day it comes back with a bang, that's a different thing. Bang plus a hangover, which sometimes even aspirin cannot solve. So we all search for this. The little child who tries to run away from home. Have you tried to keep a little baby, a child, inside a closed room and give the child anything that the child wishes, but after a day maximum, he would like to come out. The door is not open, he'll try to get out of the window. So there's also this element of trying to find freedom because we enjoy freedom. The ultimate word for freedom in Vedanta is moksha. Freedom, full freedom. So the instinct to find happiness, the instinct to be free, the instinct to complete ourselves, to become fulfilled, right? To come out of the limitations that we have. Why do we make a lot of money and have a good job? Because we think, now I'm free of influence, I'm independent, I'm on my own. I'm fulfilled. Now this instinct for fulfillment, for completeness, shows that I'm incomplete, and for happiness shows that I'm not happy. It's the whole movement of evolution, life. It's interesting that in this world, also in the other world perhaps, everything moves, nothing stands still. In Sanskrit, the word jagat, which is used for the universe, not only this world, for the universe, jagat, is derived from the Sanskrit root jagatyam, that means that which moves. And everything moves. We are in one station, we want to move to the other station. I'm not talking about a railway station, life, station in life. I'm a bachelor. I feel that if I move towards married life, I might be happy. For some time, yes. Till I find somebody else. So, I'm sorry. So this goes on and on. Sometimes I joke, don't take me seriously. So, this constant movement to try to find happiness, to try to fulfill ourselves, to be free. You know what happens to a child when it's in the womb? 10 months it's inside a dark place, or 9 months. Somebody corrected me. 9 months. And then at the end of 9 months, it's pushed out to be free. Now, the yogis, the ancient Vedantists, the mystics said, we are also in the womb now. Good to be in the womb to absorb the nutrients and so on. And then we give one cry, meow, and come out free. Except this cry, go home. So, this is actually, even those who are not spiritually inclined, actually are looking for this in some way. For this freedom, for this happiness, for this completeness. So therefore they're constantly moving towards it. I mean, I have one business, I don't like it, not good enough, so I move to another. I might like one man, if you're a woman, and then after some time I'm a little fed up, so I like another. And so on. The dilemma is to admit that I love you and then look at somebody else. Conflict. Every night I tell my husband I love you very much. Morning I'm looking at the neighbor all the time. So this is the contradiction and conflict. I'm not saying all of you are like that, please, sorry. I'm sure you're good people. So this is life. That's why gurus, if they are men, have to be careful of women, and gurus who are women should be careful of men, because they'll find them very ideal, so they'll not, you know what I mean. And then you are stuck. So, this is the movement, the spiritual movement of life. We all earn for it in some way. Unfortunately, we don't find it. We think we can, but we don't reach there. Why? I'm going to give you a small example. I have a small car. When I start it, it splutters, and then it starts. I decide, if I had a good 4MATIC Mercedes, it will be nice. Good, that's okay. Okay. Then I work very hard, sacrificing many things, taking a loan from the bank, which I have to pay back for several years. Hard work, I finally acquire a Mercedes, whatever it is, or an Audi Q8 or Q7 or something. I acquire it. Okay. And I think now that I've acquired it, I'm very happy. Because I've got it. I got what I desired. I always say, just wait a moment, just a moment. How long are you going to be satisfied with this? For some time, till we see something better. But at this time when I have acquired it for another year or so, I might actually be happy. And I might attribute this happiness to having acquired what I desired. If you look carefully enough in your mind, you'll notice that you're happy, not because you've acquired something, but because the mind has stopped craving for some time, because it thinks it has acquired something. That craving has stopped for that particular thing for a little moment of time, which is the happiness that we experience. So the ultimate happiness comes when we realize that all life is sad because it's a craving, constant craving. You need to just look into this carefully and say, how do I stop this craving? Because the human mind is built to experience happiness, naturally. So you can't say, I want to stop this craving for happiness. It will not work. It just doesn't work. People have taken sannyas, gone off to the Himalaya, and after 4 years come back. Or opened a tea shop there. I know somebody who went to become a sannyasin and runs a tea shop in Badrinath. Married a Gharwali lady. So, this thing that we search for, the good news is, good news. In Chennai we have a Christian organization called the Good News. Good news is Jesus is coming. So now here it is not that. I'm not a Christian missionary or any missionary for that matter. The good news is that this happiness that you seek, for which we do all the circus on earth that we do, trying to find, and then all this which we seek is right here if you just turn around and look. The happiness that you seek outside is actually, somebody described it as it's nearer to you than your own neck vein. So the question is to turn in instead of turning out. This is what we do. Look outside. You just turn the direction and you find that what you seek is inside and not outside. There was the famous, well-known in India at least, a saint in Varanasi whose name was Kabir Das. Kabir was a weaver. He earned his livelihood by weaving cloth, not by selling meditation. He lived by the sweat of his brow. And Kabir said something very interesting. He said, somebody is going away when we are at the most important point. Shall we wait? Because the toilet is quite close. No, it's okay. They might be urgently wanting happiness. Relax. So, happiness is also release. Oh, it's okay. Let's come back. No, it's all right. So I was going to say something very serious, so I missed you. So Kabir said, there is a deer in India, in the Himalayas, Uttarkashi, called the musk deer. M-U-S-K, musk, which you use in perfumes. The musk deer in India, it's called the Kasturi Mriga. It has a little pouch under its belly, where during one season, particular season in the year, musk is produced, Kasturi is produced. And when this is produced, it exudes a wonderful fragrance, great fragrance in the air. And the deer, not knowing where the source of the fragrance is coming from, looks for it all over the forest. It pokes its snout into thorny bushes, bleeds, but doesn't know that this fragrance is coming from under its belly. Kabir said, that's the problem with us, that we know we need happiness, we know there is a fragrance somewhere, but we're looking for that fragrance outside when the fragrance is actually inside. In Vedanta we call it the Nivritti Marga, as opposed to the Pravritti Marga, which means going out. Nivritti is turning in. Now, this turning in is the whole process of inquiry, the whole process of spiritual practice. The entire thing is how to turn in and look. But the wonderful thing is, when you turn in and see it, suppose, you also see that it is outside. But you can find it first only inside, not outside. When you found it inside, you find it outside, in the wonderful trees, the birds that chirp, the clouds that come, the wind that blows, the mountains that stand majestically in front of you. You see it everywhere, but you find it first here. And you see that it's the same happiness that is distributed. This is because in our true essence, the true essence of this entire universe is by itself blissful. And you turn around and figure this out, and that a spark of that is in each one of us, we are also blissful. Then the journey ends, otherwise the journey continues. So now I have put in a nutshell, the whole thing of the search that we have. This is why we search for gurus, we search for disciples, we search for everything. And not find. Because also, the ultimate guru is in your own heart, not outside. Suppose the supreme reality or the ultimate is all-pervading everywhere, though we don't see it or feel it. If a spark of that is within us, can there be a better teacher for us than inside? Because this, you sit here, you might think, oh, he's my teacher, but within how many years will I collapse and go? Or you may think of me in my idea, but I'm not there. But that guide or guidance which is inside you as a spark of the divine is yours. It's not mine. It's always there. Which is why the mantra which I started, Brahmanandam, Paramasugadam, Kevalam, Jnanamurtim, which means that supreme reality which is only one, non-dual, which is Ananda, which is happiness, which is the Brahman, is free of all opposites and resides in me. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, everything is inside us, ultimately. And if you find it, then you have found your freedom. This is the whole process of understanding Vedanta. This is also a way of finding out how to find the source which we seek all the time outside. It's in us. Therefore, the attempt here is to not to make you dependent on me, but to make you stand on your own feet. It makes no sense if I teach you something and then you become dependent on me, you're still not free. The idea is to stand on your own feet. Why? Because the spark that is in me is also in you. Whether you found it or not, that's a different matter. So my attempt is to help as much as possible for you to find the spark in you, so that I can walk free. You don't get caught up. I don't want anything from you. I want to tell you what I feel and make you understand is also in you. The moment a couple of people become really free, I feel that they are free, then I'm going to retire. I don't want to do this. I'm done. But I'm looking with a lens, magnifying, can't find. Hopefully somebody may be there. I hope. So, now, is there a way to find it? Or is this just theory? Are we just talking about philosophy? Are there practical ways to find it? First thing to understand is that theoretically you should understand that you're looking for this, but your inner essence has to be understood first. And why is it that we are not able to find it? I keep saying, okay, there's a spark of the divine in you, it's happiness complete, Satchidananda. But you say, no, this is not true, I can't find it. So why is it? What is it that prevents people from figuring this out, even though theoretically they understand that it is so? The reason is our mind. In the Gita there's a beautiful statement. Krishna says, the mind can be your friend, it can also be your enemy. It's the mind. Everything is we know nothing beyond the mind. The mind is all that you know of. Even when I say Atman, generally I'm thinking of my own mind. Although, in the ultimate analysis, the Atman is not the mind. But the mind is the only way we can figure it out, we can think about. Now, when I say mind, normally I would mean the brain, because there is no other mind located in any part of the body. Can you find it? All thoughts come from here. If this doesn't work, there are no thoughts. Where is the other mind? Is it in the liver or in the kidney? Or in the reproductive organs? Where is it? It's here. The only mind we know of is here, the brain. Because when the brain is done, you don't have a mind. When there is no thought, there is no mind. And thought comes from here. This thousands of cells which form the brain is the origin of thought, as we know it. Please, 1 second. So therefore, when I say mind, I'm talking of my brain. The problem is, this mind which I carry, we call it brain/brain, is by its very nature conflicted. It's by its very nature, it's always desiring for more. Because it's a built-in thing in the human system of evolution. It's always desiring for more. It's always desiring for satisfaction. It's angry sometimes, it's depressed sometimes, it's exalted sometimes, and it works in opposites, up and down. Now we are asking this question, is there a mind which is not part of this brain? Not that it has any location. If you have to find it out, what do we have to do? Is that this brain, which creates all the confusion and then tries to solve it, has to go absolutely quiet. If it can go completely quiet, in that quietness there is another element which is not of the brain. We may call it Atman, Brahman, whatever you want to say. In fact, the capacity of the brain to think, which we call consciousness, emanates from that. But you can't find it with the limited mind, which is called the brain, because the mind, by its very nature, being the brain, is limited. And that which we seek is unlimited. Which is because we are never satisfied with anything that we gain, that we seek the unlimited. And the unlimited cannot be found by this brain. Then can it be found at all? Because there is no other instrument we have. We say yes when the brain is absolutely quiet. Not in a conflict of any kind. Not caught up with all the knowledge that it has gathered theoretically. When it is, I think it's only when that is reached that one can understand the meaning of love and affection and things like that. Because otherwise love and affection always have some kind of a vested interest built into it, or it may be hormonal. Is there a love which is not so? We say yes, there is. But it happens when the brain, with its conflicts and its confusion and its contradiction, comes to a standstill. Not unconscious. There's just the awareness and everything comes to a standstill. So that's one part of the story. There's a third part, then why do we need to practice anything? Precisely because the known instruments of perception that we have, which is the five senses, eyes, ears, sense of smell, taste and touch. These are the five instruments of perception. We don't have any other, we don't know at least that we have any other instruments of perception except these. And the idea about the world which is manufactured by the mind is based on the inputs from these instruments of perception, which at best may be illusionary or inaccurate sometimes. So through the inaccurate data which is gathered by the five senses, we produce, the mind processes it and says, this is my so-called rational logical setup that I have made, and it has to be true because I have used my instruments of perception, unfortunately very limited. So the next question, are there other instruments of perception in the human system? Are there? Question. We say, yes, there are. If you ask a neurologist or a brain scientist, he would tell you that for existence in this world, even to be a scientist or whatever, 20% of the brain is enough. It's functional. What about the rest? Where has it gone? What are we doing with that? Are there centers in the brain which we normally don't use for our day-to-day existence? Are there some centers which can be explored and touched? Is there something going on? Answer is yes. So why are we not aware of it? Because they're dormant in most human beings. They can be activated. And the most important part of these is our endocrine system, the ductless glands. I don't know if you realize that happiness, to a great extent, as we know it normally, is very chemical. If there is a good dose of serotonin and dopamine circulating in our bloodstream, we are very happy, thrilled. If it is less, we are depressed. We are again asking the third question, is it possible to adjust this and not let it do what it wants? And the science of yoga is a way how to press the switch where you can actually manipulate and turn this on and off when you like it. Now the other instruments of perception, which I talked about, have been put together in one symbolic word called the third eye. It's a symbolic word. There is no third eye anywhere. If you drill your skull, you will not find it. I heard there are some people who drill their skulls, walking around with a stick pressed into them, hoping that the third eye will open. It doesn't do that. The nearest thing to a third eye which we can think of in the human system is the pineal gland. So you see, this entire operation of this body and mind is run from this center here. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a chapter called the 15th chapter, Purushottama Yoga. It starts in a very beautiful way by saying, Urdhvamulam athashyakam ashwatham. There is an ashwatha tree whose roots are up above and branches down below. Normally trees have roots down and branches up. So how can there be a tree which has roots up and its branches below? Now look at the human organism. What is the master controlling part of the human organism? What is the root? It's here in the Sahasrara, and the rest are all in the rest of the body. Everything is operated from here. This is the root. So, now I'm going to give you a simple example again. Around 60, 70 years ago, people thought, scientists thought, doctors thought, that this little pea-shaped organ, ductless gland, which is below the pituitary, in the midbrain, was a vestige organ, which means useless, like the appendicitis. No, vermiform appendix, not appendicitis. Vestige, well, nobody knows why it's there, it's just hanging there. 60 years ago, a group of scientists discovered that it's a very important organ which controls our sleep. The sleep-wake circle is called the circadian rhythm cycle. And the pineal gland plays a very important part in controlling this cycle. When you fall asleep, when it is dark, when the lights are switched off, the pineal gland injects a small amount of melatonin into your bloodstream. You're in heaven, Swarga, Bhuvassuva, Swarga, waking state, dream state, deep sleep. So, then they discovered that is a very important organ. When you have a jet lag, this is what happens. The pineal gland gets fooled because it doesn't know which is night and which is day and what is the time. So there's a disturbance in the circadian rhythm. So you go to the drugstore and pop a melatonin into your mouth. Not a good idea. It's important to let it settle down. Happen when it should. Okay? So, in the same, now, if the pineal gland or that area there controls your sleep cycle. Now, sleep is the nearest understanding of our inner essence when the brain is quiet. When you dream, the brain is not quiet. It's very active. In fact, it's almost schizophrenic. One experience to another in fast forward. One dream, you're sitting quietly in a couch, and next second in the dream you have become a horse with wings. Anything is possible. So the brain is not really quiet. The body is relaxed because the mind is having a good entertainment. So, but in deep sleep, when there are no dreams whatsoever, that also small part of our sleep, we don't know where we are, we don't know who we are. So therefore there is complete bliss. The moment I forget my identity, little limited identity. I'm free. There's perfect bliss. Only thing is, in deep sleep, I'm not aware that I'm doing this. Agree. But because it is so relaxing, it's the reason why the whole body and mind is rejuvenated. When you wake up, you feel good. What would have happened if there was no sleep? Already you know how violent the world is. Imagine we're not sleeping for days. So in deep sleep, we rejuvenate ourselves because we are free. There is no recognition, inner or outer. Everything is settled. Absolute quiet. But it seems there was a witness at that time. Because when we wake up, when you wake up, you say, Usha is thinking now, is this true or not? So when you wake up, we think, oh, I had a wonderful sleep. It was so blissful. Especially at the moment when you wake up, you know the time between waking up and sleeping when you don't want to wake up. Because it's so blissful. Hey, give me 5 more minutes, you turn around and back again to sleep. Your alarm can ring 5 times, but you want to enjoy it because it's so wonderful. It's like being drunk with sleep. So, apparently there seems to have been a witness to it. Although at that moment in deep sleep you don't realize that witness. But there is a witness which says, I had a blissful sleep. Now imagine a situation where in deep sleep, when everything is at rest, that witness wakes up and sees everything. Vedanta says that is Turiya, or the state where you see your true essence, where you are not just a little limited little being, but an all-pervading reality, which is blissful by its own nature because it doesn't need any happiness from outside. And that can happen only when the brain is absolutely quiet. And when the brain is absolutely quiet, what functions is not a product of the brain. It's something else. Okay, so part 4 of our discussion. 3 is over, I think. I'm not good at arithmetic. But 4. Intuitive brains sometimes are not very arithmetic in their nature, unfortunately. So I think is the 4th part of our discussion. We look at it this way. The yogis believe that our bodies, of course we also know that the body has all kinds of energies moving through it. Energy of desire, energy of anger, it's all there. But the yogis add to this by saying that there are numerous channels in the body through which this energy flows. You can call it prana if you like. I'm very frightened because then people will say pranic healing, so I'm worried about this. Until you reach the ICU. So, the prana or the energy moves through these nerves, through these channels. They are called in yoga nadi. The nadis, there are numerous nadis. And then most of the energy is wasted in this 1108 nadis. 108 is a metaphor. It simply means numerous. When we are angry, when we are disturbed, when we are desiring, so much energy is dissipated and wasted through these several nadis. They are also required for the body to function. So, the yogis say that among these nadis, the most important ones are 3 in number. Which the left, which they call the Ida, the right, which is called the Pingala, and the central one, which is called the Shushumna. These are the 3 important nadis. Now for most worldly functions, including acquiring knowledge, the prana needs to function only through the left and the right nadis. The central nadi doesn't play a very important role in that. According to the yogi, if the energy that moves in these two nadis can be gathered together without being wasted, how? Not being distracted, by not being overtly desirous of things, by learning to quieten the mind, if these energies can be kind of not wasted, then these can be gathered together at one place, which we call the Mooladhara. Now the meaning of the word Mooladhara is root foundation. Moola, Adhara, Adhara. The root foundation. Why root foundation? Because there the energies which can be saved and not allowed to dissipate are gathered together. The foundation of the experience. Once they are gathered there, they can be made to move along the central channel, which is called the Shushumna. And then when this happens, the mind or our awareness, at the moment the brain, let us say, the awareness that the brain has is raised from the gross to the subtle, to the subtle, to the subtle, until it comes to the subtlest level of awareness, where suddenly it's not the brain that's functioning anymore, but that which is the consciousness, the base from which the brain operates. And that is supposed to be the Sahasrara. So, otherwise, we could be just stuck in theories. We say, yes, we are looking for that, it is enough, but how do we find it? We can't find it when the energies are always in the Ida and the Pingala. They need to be gathered together in one nadi to be able to access it. And therefore, while it is a physical, a chemical, and a mental process, it's these three processes and ultimately take you beyond anything that is physical, mental, or chemical. What is reached is neither chemical, nor mental, nor physical. It's the essence of your being from which the whole thing starts. And the nearest you can get to know is in deep sleep, but then you are not aware of it. So, which is why in the ancient teachings they said keep your needs to a minimum and so on, because you're not caught up with too many things. It's not that it's a sin, that you will be punished eternally or anything of that kind. It's just that you don't get caught up because you need higher things, you need to look beyond. It's not, this is not enough. Here the mind is always dissipated, divided, in contradictions, in conflict, but there it's without any contradiction or conflict. It is in its true essence. So, this is the aim of the practice. Now, we have another session after this. We have another 15 minutes to this point, up to this point, what we discussed. If you have anything to clarify, then you put up your hands, so we'll get the microphone. I'm sure there must be something.
I wonder if you could explain bliss. Because bliss is an English word, right? And as I learned, bliss is an English word. It's not, if I met somebody blissful, I would be happy for them that they were blissful, but I'm not sure I would trust them.
You would trust them?
If I met, let's say if I met a blissful banker, you're right, I'd be happy.
Blissful?
But a banker, a guy who...
Banker, okay.
Right. If I met a blissful banker, I can't say I would trust this guy with
no,
money.
No,
right.
Certainly not.
So it's an English word, and
yeah.
I'm kind of wondering whether there's a word in another language that...
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. The word bliss is different from the word happiness. Because when you say bliss, it's an eternal thing. It's not what a banker feels. We normally roughly translate it as a blissful feeling for everything that is happiness. But bliss means in an eternal sense of happiness. The banker is happy only as long as he is sitting up there. He is not happy when he is turned out or thrown away. But bliss is a state which is always there. You are right, it's an English word, but in Sanskrit, the origin of this word is Ananda. Now, Ananda is, you can't say Ananda, even for small things you say, in Hindi they say, Hum to Anand hai, which means we are very happy. But Anand also means something beyond, which means that which is eternal and permanent, as opposed to the small little anandas that we have every day. So therefore the word used in Sanskrit is Paramananda. I think now in English you cannot translate it. You can only say super bliss. Do you know what I mean? So Param is the word. Param means that which is beyond, big, great. So the word actually used in Vedanta is Paramananda. Okay. It is also used, and the other word that's used is Satchidananda. Now Satchidananda is not one word. Satchidananda is a word made up of 3 syllables. One is Sat, the other is Chit, and the third is Ananda, bliss. Okay, so why, how come this word is? Sat means that which is permanent and truthful, as opposed to, or not opposed to, as different from that which is not permanent, and which is here today and gone tomorrow. Most of the things here, including us, are here today and gone tomorrow, so it can't be Sat. Sat must be that element in us which is always there, whether I am there or not, whether this is there or not. So that is Sat. Okay. And Chit is that it is not a material thing, but of the nature of consciousness. Chit. That this happiness is not a banker or a blacksmith, but it is of the nature of his internal consciousness, awareness. Right? Chit. And therefore, when there is the reality, which is permanent, which is not temporary, which is eternal, then that reality is of the nature of consciousness. It can't be a material object. And therefore, that state, when this happens, is called Ananda. That means Paramananda. Happiness which is lasting forever and not which is here today and gone. I'm trying my best to explain. Coming. 1 minute. Yeah, it's coming, it's coming. Somebody else has got the mic in 1 minute. It'll come back to you. Sir, if you raise both, it'll be nice. Blessings for all of us. Okay.
So you talked about the nadis, the Ida and Pingala, and the prana flowing through the nadis and concentrating the energy. I was wondering, how is it related to the thought process and the noise of the mind? How
and the what?
The noise in the mind. How is it related to make the mind tranquil and quiet? So the connection between the two.
Between
the nadis, the prana flowing, and the thought process going on in the mind.
At the moment, let's keep the nadis and the prana away. Let's think of why the mind is making noise. Because it's constantly chattering. From the beginning, from the womb, I think, till we die, we chatter. Sometimes meaningfully, sometimes meaninglessly. The chatter goes off. Now, it's not just the talk that we are saying, but even internally. Even when we shut our mouths, the chattering is going on inside. Right? So, here is a practical thing. If you are constantly chattering, which means your mind is caught up in hundreds of things, which is how the brain works, hundreds of things. What you are asking is it possible to become quiet and escape from this chattering? The person who wants to escape from this chattering is made up of the same chatter, so there is no escape. Just think about it carefully. When I say I want to escape from the chattering, I am the chattering. Essentially. Right? So the thought should be, is there something other than me? So, the chattering becomes less and less when the I in the center becomes shorter and smaller. If that I completely disappears, there is no chatter. And the yogis have found that when this happens, the energy which is called the prana moves quietly, very quietly. So they linked the two and said, if you can make this energy, now your question, if you can link your mind state to your breath, if you quieten your breath, it might be able to quieten your mind. If you say, does it work? The proof of the cake is in the eating it, pudding or cake. So, you need to work on it. Sir.
Does this work? Yeah. I'm in the process of taking the courses from Paramahansa Yogananda Self-Realization Fellowship, and one of the reasons that I'm here is because that's your lineage. On the other hand, I'm also asking myself, if I'm doing that and going to the source, perhaps, what value do I have being here? So that's the question I ask myself, and then in turn I ask you, what value do I have being here if I'm doing that? And enough is enough with all these practices. I can't even keep up with a little bit that I know, much less more. So how do I get the result?
Say that again, second part of what you said.
I say I already have enough practices with that and other practices and other gurus and teachers, and you're going to give more. So I can't do all those things.
You can't. Naturally.
And I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm guessing.
Mm.
So what do I do to get the most value from being here today with all that context that I just gave you?
Okay. Let me explain this to you. If you are seriously practicing the Kriya which has been given to you by the Self-Realization Fellowship, as they call it here, India is the YSS, Yoga Satsang Society. If you're seriously practicing it, you actually don't need to learn anything from me. In fact, when we teach Kriya, it's good to go out, have a cup of coffee, walk around, sit down and do your Kriya. You don't need to really attend. Because the central Kriya taught by Yogananda Paramahamsa and what we teach is not very different. It's about the same. And the thing is, it only comes through practice and practice and practice and not through any theory. What you can learn here probably, what we discussed early, is the theoretical aspect of it. And as far as the practice and experience is concerned, it's better that you stick to your practice. There is no need to learn anything new. That's what I would say. I always say this to people who come from the YSS or the SRF, practice what you have been given and you will find your aim fulfilled through practice. Because the source of the Kriya is the same. Well, you can understand some of the theoretical aspects. I would also add that since Yogananda Paramahamsa is not physically present now, physically, maybe in your mind, yes, but physically present, it might be good to see somebody who is actually physically present. And perhaps that might contribute to your Kriya in some way. Even if you don't learn anything from it. Having said that, please understand that in India there are many Kriya Yoga circles which are not part of the SRF. Simple reason being that Lahiri Mahashai, who was one of the important teachers of Kriya in modern time, contemporary times, maybe some years ago, had many disciples. And his most, although it is made to appear as if Yukteswar Giri was his most prominent disciple, let me tell you, it is not so. There were other disciples. There was Panchanan Bhattacharya who lived in Jharkhand, who was the most important disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya. He was a married man who had an estate. And through him, there have been many Kriya Yoga circles operating in India. And if you go to them, they will say, oh, SRF, don't talk to us about. I wouldn't say that. I'm not like that, because I know that Yogananda Paramahamsa tried his best to translate these teachings to the Western mind. And therefore, they say this because they find some of the processes are very simplified. It's good to simplify. People can't pick up so easy. But there are some more tough practices in Kriya which have not been taught by Yogananda Paramahamsa. He knew it, I'm sure, because he couldn't have not known it. He definitely knew it. So if you think something can be added on to your practice, maybe it would be useful. Otherwise, you just need to practice. Practice, practice, practice. There's no way out. Since the source comes from the same, you can also learn the Guru Mantra, which is the Guru Mantra of Sri Guru Babaji. Might help. But you're free to not attend the Kriya session. Really. Because you're already doing it. What will happen is then you will compare with this and get into confusion. It's up to you.
What I was really looking for was what you said, you don't provide yesterday. Like push the button, you don't need to do the practice.
There is no such thing. If there is no such thing. There is no such thing. If you find a guru saying that, run away many miles. You're only going to waste your checkbooks. There are no shortcuts. There are no buttons. There are no quick fixes. That's why I said yesterday, it needs practice. The man sitting here before you has practiced several hours every day before something could be touched. So there are no such buttons. Yeah? What? That there are buttons?
No, you told us that there are no buttons.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just waiting to see.
I'm glad. You got it.
This question is from what you just mentioned. So, as I understand from what we just discussed, we are constantly pursuing, as human beings, pursuing happiness. And happiness in its truest or ultimate form is freedom. Freedom translating to moksha. And in the state of moksha, what are we free from?
You can find out that only when you attain moksha. You can't theoretically say in moksha what do you get.
Namaste Guruji. My question is like you mentioned about that ultimate Guru is within you, and we also hear the term listen to your inner voice. How can we do that? Like does mind need to be quiet for that? Sometimes we are in life are so much confused or conflicted, like we are not able to make decisions.
I need to add a little bit of precaution here. All the inner voice that you hear may not be the inner Guru. One day when you sit down to meditate, the inner voice will say, "We have attained moksha, so you don't have to meditate." This is not what I meant. That direction comes when the mind is only absolutely quiet. So till then you need to follow some norms. And therefore people like us go around trying to say, please do this, please do that. So you need to have a guide in the sense that someone who can lead you like a friend. All I'm objecting to is that the Guru becomes more important than the instructions. This is what I'm objecting. I'm not objecting to it, I don't like it. Maybe because it becomes too much of a headache for me, I don't know. It's not that really. But I'm ready to take it on. But what see, suppose you see what happens is very often we say the Guru is so important, then you start worshipping him or her for that matter. And then what happens? You don't do anything. You don't look at how you are living, what you're See, you should also learn how to live in this world as a better person. Meditation doesn't work if I say I live as I like, but I'll practice for 2 hours. There's some explosion. Hello? Yeah, it's okay. You made some sound. Okay. So, sorry, I'm coming back to the subject. What did I say? Yeah. So, pay more attention to your life. Are you becoming better? Are you kinder? Are you a better person? Do you always think, I'm always right, other person must be wrong? So think about it carefully and try to sort your life externally. Meanwhile, try to do some practice which will ground you in your inner essence. Now when this happens, when your mind is absolutely calm and quiet, and when you don't manufacture instructions from the inner Guru for your own personal and selfish desires, then perhaps you will begin to get the real instructions. You know what I mean? Yeah, the problem is you start worshipping the teacher, you think you become so lazy and you say, oh, he will take care of it. I don't want to do it. See, these are all dangers, real dangers. The Guru is sitting there not to take care of it. He has much to do. It's not just one person, right? The other thing is, you have to be responsible for yourself. Okay, I'll give you an example. Suppose I know the way to Washington DC from here. I'm standing at the gate and you come to me, sir, do you know how to go there? I said, yes, I know how to go there, if I know. There are many cases where I don't know and pretend to know, but suppose I know. I said, then you turn right, go to the parking lot, take your car, this, you'll reach there, right? Now if you have to reach DC, what do you have to do? Or walk, or drive. Is it okay if you stay there at the doorstep and keep garlanding me and lighting lamps and ringing bells? You're the greatest Guru. You shown me how to go to DC. It doesn't work. That's what I mean. You need to you need to work. You get what? Oh, sorry. This is what I mean. Okay? Yeah, because nowadays I know there is a trend when the Gurus say that, don't worry about it. Somebody said, Upanishads, useless, I am there. Where do you end up? So be careful. Because in the end, after 16 years of all this, you will figure out that you're poorer by several thousands of dollars and you got nothing in return. Watch out.
Can we take a break now, sir?
Yes. It's 10:30, we take a small break and come back again. And believe me, there is some Kriya session. I'm not escaping from this.